Hello everyone, welcome to chemistry class for class 6. This is the part 2 of the online class series. Dear students, in the class last time we had learned about many things. Let us have a recap in short, then we will move to the next topic. First of all, we discussed about what is chemistry as a subject. What we will learn in this, the definition is given here. It is the study of the substances and their transformation, how the things are changing. Transformation means changing. So how the different substances change from one form to another is studied under chemistry. It is an important branch of science. Then we saw what are the different kind of substances. Generally substances can also be called as matter, and the definition of matter is simple as it is given there. Anything that takes up space and has mass. If anything is occupying some space, for example air, water, or any object, it can be anything around us, that is called as substance or matter. Then we had a look on transformation. As I earlier told, it is actually what it is, a change. So when anything is changing from one form to another, then it is called transformation. Like ice changes to water, water changes to water vapor, and opposite of this also. So this is actually what is happening is transformation is happening. This transformation or changes are of two types, that is physical change and chemical change. Both these things we had seen in the earlier class. Next one, we had discussed about chemical reactions. What are chemical reactions were? We had already covered this part also. Chemical reactions are the things where chemical change is happening. Whenever any chemical change is happening, it is called chemical reaction. How we can say, for example, digestion of food. When we eat food, that food is converted into energy. So one thing, food is converted into another substance, that is, it gives us energy. Similarly, growth of the plant is growing. As we sow the seed in the soil, it will grow up into a big plant after some time. So that growth of a plant is actually what it is, a chemical change. Cooking of food, when we are cooking food, it is a chemical change. These all things we had discussed in the earlier class. Then we had a look on how chemistry evolved. Earlier time, the chemistry as it began, it was called as alchemy. Alchemy was the chemistry of those days, not exactly chemistry, it was the initial stage of science only. Then the alchemists, the people who were working for alchemy, they were having two major goals. One was converting the cheaper metals into gold. They tried to what? They tried to take the cheaper metals which are less costly, and those metals like iron they have taken, they tried to convert this iron into gold. So they were trying to do this and they were not successful in their attempt. Next, second thing was, another benefit of this alchemy was searching for the elixir of life. They were looking for an elixir. What is the elixir that we have that is given here? It is an imaginary liquid, not actually present, just in our imagination. The scientists used to think that there can be any liquid in this elixir. What it will do? If any person drinks it, all his diseases will be cured. Means any sick person will become fine after taking elixir. But this is an imaginary liquid, nothing is as such in reality. So they could not search for anything. The alchemists were looking for elixir, but they could not find anything. Also, another thing was elixir of life. This was also an imaginary liquid, and the people believed that if someone drinks this, then person will become immortal. Immortal means that person will not die. Till here we had covered in the part 1 of the video. Then people were working about the two things. They were trying to convert the iron into gold. Also, they were looking for elixir of life. But why did they fail? Why could they not succeed? Why? The reason is because they were moving in the wrong direction. Their basis was wrong. The basis of science at that time was wrong. How it was wrong? Because the alchemists believed in a theory. They believed that everything around us is made up of four substances, that is earth, fire, air, and water. By combining all these four things, earth, second fire, third air, and fourth water, by combining these four things, and the alchemist believed that anything can be formed. So that was the wrong theory. This is not true. And later on, this theory was called as four element theory, because four elements are there now. One is earth, two is fire, three air, and four water. So four element theory. This four element theory was disproved. Disproved means it was cancelled, or it was proven wrong. This is a wrong theory. So because the alchemists, the people or the scientists of earlier times were believing in a false theory, in a wrong theory, that is why their scientific approach failed. They could not succeed in their efforts. What they were trying to do, they could not become successful. Next one is, now we will see now how the beginning of modern chemistry was done, that we are studying today. The modern chemistry, how it began. So there was a person, he was a scientist, he is known as the father of modern chemistry. His name is Lavoisier. So Lavoisier, he found that when a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen is ignited means whenever we take hydrogen gas and oxygen gas and try to put some fire in between there, we try to heat that, then what will happen, it will explode. There will be an explosion that will take place. Explosion, it will blast will take place. And as this will take place, what will happen, this hydrogen means H2 and oxygen, both the things we have taken together, both these will combine together, and what we will get is water will get. So by this experiment, it was an experiment he had done. So by this experiment, by combining hydrogen and oxygen, Lavoisier made water. That means what? That means water is not an element. Earlier in the four element theory, the alchemist in the earlier part, they were believing what? Here it is. They were believing that water is what? Water is an element. But what Lavoisier said? What Lavoisier said? Water is not an element. Water is even having hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen and oxygen are element, and by combining them we are getting water. Element means the smallest thing by which we can make a bigger particle or bigger molecules can be made. So that is why the alchemist failed, because they were believing water is an element. Lavoisier said water is not an element, it is made of hydrogen and oxygen. So this was the first successful attempt. There onwards, the beginning of modern chemistry was done. So that is given here. Modern chemistry began with Lavoisier. So what is, you have to remember this. He is called as the father of modern chemistry. This question we can ask, who is the father of modern chemistry? The answer will be Lavoisier. Next, slowly over a period of time, what happened? Many more elements have been discovered, and today how many elements are there? There are more than 115 elements. Yes, a long list of elements is there. And for example, just for 2-3 names I am telling, you can say hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, fluorine, bromine, iodine. Many more are there. Any number of elements we can speak. So these are more than 115 elements. This number also you have to remember. How many elements are there? More than 115 elements are there. And exact number is ever changing, because new and new elements are discovered. Next, now when two or more elements combine means join together, then what is happening? Then a compound is formed. Like one element hydrogen, one element oxygen. When we are joining these two things, what we are getting? We are getting water. By hydrogen and oxygen we are getting water. So these are two what? Hydrogen is an element and oxygen also is an element. And when we are joining these two elements, then what we are getting? That is called as compound. What we are getting is called as compound. So this thing you will always remember. When two elements combine together, then what we get is called as compound. Example of element can be hydrogen and oxygen. Example of compound can be water. Another example you can say, for example, we take carbon. Carbon means, symbol is written C, and O means oxygen. Carbon and oxygen. If we mix both of these things, then what we'll get is carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide. Anything we can get. So CO2, carbon dioxide gas, is an example of compound. By mixing two elements, carbon and oxygen, we are getting compound, that is carbon dioxide. So this line you can mark in your book. When we are mixing two elements or combining two elements, what we are getting is called as compound. Next, now classification of element. So as earlier I have told you here there are more than 115 elements today. So if we study one by one all these elements, it will take a very long time, and we cannot remember, or we cannot learn these much things. It is very difficult for us. So what we have to do, so scientists also find this difficulty, they cannot learn or study these much things. So what they did, they tried to classify, they made groups. Different groups were made of different elements, and that different groups of elements are referred to as, are called as classification of element. And this classification, or the process of making the groups, was first of all successfully done by a scientist. He was belonging to Russia. So a Russian chemist, his name was Mendeleev. Yes, name you have to remember, his name was Mendeleev. Mendeleev gave the first periodic table of element. This line is important. You mark this in your book. Find this heading in the book, classification of elements. In that heading only you will find this line. So Mendeleev gave the first periodic table of element. What is the periodic table? It is a table in which all the elements are arranged in order, so that we can study them nicely. There would not be much confusion, and we can study the elements easily. Otherwise, a lot of elements are there and we cannot study them properly. So first time Mendeleev gave the periodic table. Next, now we will come to the next topic, that is the concept of atom and molecule. Now earlier I told you that when one element like hydrogen joins with another element, then what we are getting? We are getting a compound. Like hydrogen combines with oxygen, then what we are getting is water. That is a compound. But similar to this, one more concept is there, that is of atoms and molecules. In chemistry, whenever different elements are reacting, whenever different elements are combining together, then what is actually happening is their atoms are participating. This definition you have to learn. What is an atom? Atom is the smallest part of an element. The smallest thing. Like in our body is made up of cells. Similarly, different elements are made up of atoms. The smallest thing in a particular element is atom. And when different atoms are combining together, an atom may combine, means join with other atoms to form what? Molecule. So what they are telling, when one atom joins with another atom, then what we will get? We will get a molecule. Just similar now. There's a element plus element. What we are getting? We are getting compound. Similarly, atom plus atom gives molecule. It should be clear now. Now, for example, we take one oxygen atom. We also take one more oxygen atom. So, how many are there now? Two are there. So, we will write O2. So, O2 is what? O2 is the oxygen molecule. What is single O? O is not molecule. O is atom. So if we are writing only O, number is not written, then it is atom. If we are writing O2, then it is molecule. Similarly, we can write H, that is atom, plus another H, that is also atom. So total 2 are there. So we will write H2, that will be molecule. So different atoms can join together to form one molecule. Also, we can also write like carbon, that is C, that is one atom. And then O, this is oxygen, this is atom. Then it will join to make what? It will make CO. CO is a gas, it is called carbon monoxide. So this is what? This is a molecule. Another way we can also write this like C plus O2. Now O2 means one molecule, oxygen molecule, one atom, carbon atom, and oxygen molecule. Both will join together, they will make CO2. This is also molecule. So this is how different atoms and molecules can join together. After joining, what is made is only called as molecule. Here the examples, whatever I have explained is written here. Fastly we will read there. Third point onwards, a molecule can exist independently but atom cannot. So why these atoms are joining together? Why they can't live alone? Yes, exactly, atom cannot live alone. Atom always combined with another atom. If only H atom is there, it can never live alone. It has to find someone else. So it will join with another atom, and what will form is hydrogen molecule will form. H2 molecule will form. This will be a molecule. So atoms cannot live alone, but independent or alone, but molecule can live or exist independent or alone. Example now, same example as it is as I have explained. So atom of hydrogen combines with another of hydrogen to form what? Molecule of hydrogen. Similarly, two atoms of oxygen makes molecule of oxygen. Same things only. You can read this in your book as well. All things as I have explained here. It is a typing mistake. It should be THE, the spelling error only. Next, now we'll move to the next topic, that is the founding fathers of chemistry. The different scientists have been in the field of chemistry. In your textbook, these four are mentioned. These are given considerable research work in the field of chemistry, and they have been contributing their life for this cause. So we will read about their life. In this class, present class, we will read about Robert Boyle. The remaining three we will be doing in the next class. Next, let us do now Robert Boyle. So let me read here. Robert Boyle, he was a scientist. He was born in a rich family, noble family in Ireland. This is just for reading part, nothing much important there. So he studied in England itself. He was born in Ireland, he studied in England, and then thereafter he went studying in different parts of Europe. After completing his studies, he started working hard for what? For scientific research. He became a scientist, and then he became a member of Invisible College. This was not exactly a college. What it was then? It was a society. Society means it was a group of what? It was a group of people who were discovering different scientific facts or scientific based research. All these different scientists from different areas, they were gathering together and they were discussing different research works that were going on in science. Later on, the same Invisible College was converted, or its name was changed into the Royal Society. This Royal Society is present even today, and the world famous scientists, the most renowned scientists, are made member of this Royal Society. This is in present day England. Now Robert Boyle will continue. Now this is all about his life only, nothing much to remember there. Some important things what Robert Boyle has given to the field of science, what he discovered. This is important, you have to learn. So Robert Boyle discovered the hydrogen gas. This is very important thing. Who discovered hydrogen? We can ask this. So who discovered hydrogen? The answer will be Robert Boyle. And also the four element theory, in that water was told as element. So this four element theory was also rejected by Robert Boyle. He rejected Aristotle's theory. Aristotle was the person who gave this four element theory. Next one, he studied the behavior of gases and gave a famous law that is called as Boyle's law. We don't have to learn the law, although it is given in the book. You can read through, but it is not much important. But you should be knowing who gave the Boyle's law. The name itself, in this law itself, the name is written. Boyle's law is given by Robert Boyle. And being a scientist, he also authored, means he written more than 20 books on different aspects of science, and he died on this date, 31 December 1691. So this is all about Robert Boyle's life. Two important things you can note down or remember there. He discovered hydrogen gas and he gave the Boyle's law. This is all for Robert Boyle. Dear students, now we will quickly move on to the short answer questions. We will have a discussion on that, and you can note down the answers and complete your work in your class notebook. In the next upcoming class, we will read about the remaining scientists that are given in the textbook, and then we will do the remaining exercise part, and the long answer questions also we will cover in the next upcoming video. Let us move on to the short answers now. So here we are with the short answer questions for the chapter number 1. Let us begin. Question number 1 is define chemistry. The answer is chemistry is the science of substances and their transformation. So in chemistry we are studying what? We are studying about different substances that are around us, and their transformation means their changes, how these substances are changing from one form to another form, that we are studying in the subject of chemistry. Next, know what happens to a substance after a physical change and after a chemical change. So answer is a substance does not change in a physical change, but does so. Does so means changes in a chemical change. So in a physical change, substance will not change. For example, ice is converted into water. If we keep ice in a outside the cool place, then it will convert into water. So ice is converting into water, but it is not changing its elements. The element or the compound are not changing, because what, ice is made of what, ice is made of water only. Ice is made up of water, and water formula is H2O. After melting, what will happen? It will again remain H2O only. Ice is also H2O, water is also H2O. So substance is not changing, but in the chemical change, the substance is changing. Earlier class we have discussed this. Next, now what is matter? Anything that occupies space and has mass is called matter. What is base metal? Base metals are the cheaper metals like iron, copper, etc. Cheaper means which are not costly. Let us move on to the sixth question now. Who was the first to prepare hydrogen and who prepared oxygen? So the scientist name they are asking. Hydrogen was first prepared by Robert Boyle and oxygen by Priestley. The scientist name was Priestley. Next, who disproved the four-element theory of Greek? So the four-element theory was disproved. Disproved means cancelled or proven wrong. It was done by Lavoisier. How? Because he discovered what? He discovered that when hydrogen gas and oxygen gas are combined together and ignited, what will happen? Water will form. That means water is not an element. Next, who put forward the periodic table? Who put forward the periodic table? It was Mendeleev. The ninth question is, who gave the atomic theory? John Dalton. This 8th and ninth about Mendeleev and John Dalton we will discuss in our upcoming classes. That's all for this short answer questions. In the upcoming video we will be discussing about the long answer questions and the book exercise. Students, you have the homework for you now. You have to note down these answers in your fair notebook and you have to learn these answers.